Hi. In fact, I have quite a bit more to say about this very same topic under signing off. And I very much encouraged by a bunch of regular INTP viewers. Thanks, you guys. Who's laughing as your confirmations rolled in within 15 minutes of posting part one of the video. Oh, awesome. And a lovely INFP as well. So here's what I wish I had. I want to clarify about something I said in part one, and what I wish I'd really clarified this way, this clearly, in my positive ID episode number 4 about spotting INJs in the wild. And that is, I did not mean to imply that even more than a small minority, or like maybe a sizable minority of the NPs are wild and outrageous dressers. In fact, I think most people are not looking at any kind of specific way. So, in fact, I'm actually in agreement with most of the people who are detractors under that other little segment, because yeah, anyway, I should have made that much more clear, that again, what I was talking about then and what I'm trying to talk about here is actually a very small minority who are displaying a collection of patterns that I have reason to think I can interpret something about. But it really is the case that the vast majority of people are not easy to peg based on how they dress alone or how they wear their hair. It just really isn't. So yeah, but again, what is the case is that when you see some dressers that are really are wildly unconventional, and that seem to have a bit of a sort of insouciant kind of, careless, or a less than incredibly fussy and non-random kind of feel to the composition of their outfits, then the chances that that person is one of the NP types, one of those 4, is very high. That's what I will say. But the majority of the NPs are not dressing in a really striking way at all. And in fact, yeah, when I sort of go through my mind and I'm flashing all those people through my mind, here's what though, like most of those NPs that I know, I've met, worked with, seen around. Here's the thing: quite often those people might have an accessory or a clue somewhere in their rather nondescript outfit that might suggest that they're an NP. But again, it's very loose, it's very slippery, and not worth doing really, unless you just really enjoy this kind of thing, and if you're not going to use it for evil, to impose on other people or whatever. But what I find with a lot of the NP women, and quite a few of the NJ women too, is they might be wearing something that's pretty. The NP women will, all of them, but NP women in particular, again, will probably put a premium on comfort for themselves in their dress. And so there will, maybe it'll be looser style or just more casual and less structured in form. No fabrics that are itchy, or, they'll probably shy away from that most of the time. And they'll be comfortable, but there might be some sort of hint, the kind of hint that you might be dealing with an N. Again, very not far from foolproof. But if you see someone with sort of as a t-shirt with a logo on it that you've never seen before, and you've never heard of whatever that org is or that thing is that is being portrayed, if there's something unusual about it, or if if a woman's wearing, or a man for that matter, is wearing some kind of jewelry in a way that you very rarely see, or you may never have seen. If there are other much more reliable things in evidence, like say the person saying that's what they are, then maybe you'll know that you're dealing with an NP. Anyway, yeah. So The other thing that I wanted to point out is that I didn't is that the NTPs. I didn't speak about their cognitive functions other than to say that the NTPs, like the NFPs, have extroverted intuition prominently in their cognitive function stacks. That is either in the auxiliary position, as is the case for INTP, or in the dominant position, as is the case for ENTP. And that is the, and any, it's the freak, the freak flag function. So people who have any, here's the thing: people who have any in prominence, way up there in the cognitive function stack, it's not, more precisely, it's not the case that at all necessarily that those people are going to dress outrageously or even dress in a way that catches your eye at all. But here's the more to the point. What it is that people who have that are quite natively deeply unconventional people who, for various reasons, some already discussed in part one, do not value conventionality. They don't value it at all, and they have so what those guys have in their dominant, also in either the dominant position or the auxiliary function, the NTPs, is TI. Which again, like FI, has a real, again, it's a subjective, complex system that's usually developed at somewhat of a remove from the exterior world. So it's idiosyncratic. And that's kind of, its focus is on matters that are dealt with, the cogitative processes associated with TI. Are much more strongly focused on the interior world and on the coherence of a complex system that is being worked out at somewhat of a remove from the outside world. So here's the thing. This is what would be so that's where that logic I was speaking of, the sort of priority given logic, that's where that comes from. So we could say that the formula then for being untucked, it all comes down to, is if you have a decision-making function with an introverted attitude within one of the top two slots of your cognitive function stack, and then in the other position at the top of your cognitive function stack, you have extroverted intuition, then what that will mean, and more to the point, is that you don't have barriers to dressing in what most people would consider a really strange and probably embarrassing way. It's like we don't have, because of the sort of very heavily reckoned, thoroughgoing examination of these internal processes for making decisions and making value judgments. That would be TI and introverted feeling and introverted thinking. Then when that's combined with a strong extroverted intuition and all of the stuff associated with that, that means that those people really don't have the same level of inhibition that the other 12 types have for for dressing or presenting themselves unconventionally. So that's why I say that when I'm in a crowd and I see someone who's got a really weird haircut and is wearing some really crazy stuff that you just almost never see, and that really, really, really stand out, and they have a bunch of features that are really unusual, I will say to myself, I start, if I want to do some armchair typing just for fun, or because I just can't help it at this point. I've spent so much time thinking about this model and wondering about it. My starting point will be ruling out, trying to find evidence that this person is not one of the NP types, because that's what I will investigate first. I will kind of start with the assumption they're an NP and then see what else comes in terms of information and evaluate that and whatever. Hopefully find out from that person one day what they think, which is the part that matters. So now I also wanted to say something about I I didn't in part one, and I still don't want to venture too far in speculating about what's behind the untuckedness of the SP artisans. But I'll tell you what I have noticed, with my scanning around the environment all the time and thinking about these things. So, and again, this is like, I feel quite very confident about my assertions for the NPs, but less so about the SPs. So I hope the SPs will chime in if any of them are ever watching. I don't know, or if any of the other viewers are, if any of the viewers know a lot about SPs and have something to say, then please, by all means, add to the information. What was that? Okay, so what can be said of the SPs then is this, it's a similar formula for them as well. What the SPs have in common is that they have SE. They have an introverted decision-making function, either TI or FI, in either the auxiliary position or the dominant position of their cognitive function stack, just as the NPs do. But then they have the information gathering, perceiving function that they have in the inevitably in the upper two, one of the two top slots, the auxiliary or the dominant position. They have extroverted sensing. So extroverted sensing is extroverted intuition and extroverted sensing. They're both very concerned with perceiving and taking in a lot of information about and considering matters that have to do with the external world, what's going on in the external world. But they're very, very different from one another, very, very different. And the sort of what I would say are the intelligences of the extroverted sensing are, I mean, what the extroverted sensors are incredible at is that they are constantly cogitating about in very, very rich detail information from the sensual world. That's like the concrete world. They're taking in a lot of detail that they see out there and considering it, and it's impacting them. It's impacting their consciousness. It's what is feeding their sort of what they're thinking about a lot. And that's where, they're going to be, if their cognitive functions, the circumstances of their lives allow or encourage them to develop those functions, they're going to develop a lot of skill in that eventually. So here's what I've observed is that for the SPs, for the STPs, they would dress a lot like the NTPs, really, except that they are even more likely. Even more of them are even more likely than the the NTPs to dress in a flashy way, unless they have to, unless there's some really good reason, a really compelling reason for them to do that once in a while. They just, they dress in a way that's very, pretty utilitarian and practical and doesn't stand out. And their tastes will tend to be more conventional. Although again, really, the vast majority, I think, of the INTPs and the ISTPs, I don't think you could really tell them apart based on appearance, most of them at all. But those people as a group are going to probably they'll want to be comfortable. Again, that'll be a priority, but it'll be one of competing priorities. Another competing priority is likely to be rationalist kinds of criteria. Like, is this a good, is this practical? Maybe in terms of cost and or quality and or ease of use, or how long it will last before it, because they probably don't love to go shopping. I think an INTP commentator already mentioned that under part one. Like someone said a waste of an afternoon to go shopping. God forbid you waste a single afternoon going shopping. Oh, horrors. So what I would say of the SFPs, the ISFP and ESFP, the ISFP is known to be quite often, quite a few of the ISFPs are a nickname for that type is quite often the artist. Picasso was an ISFP, and several other very famous visual artists were and are. And So they might be, quite a greater than usual number of their number, might be among the very wild and eccentric and if you like that kind of thing, gorgeous dressers. But probably the vast majority, just as with the others already discussed, won't be. But here's the thing for the ESFPs, and the ISFPs probably to a lesser extent more of the time, with that SE, that big SE influence in their cognition, they will probably be involuntarily focused quite a bit on the sensual qualities of their clothes. So maybe more so than other types, they're going to they want to be comfortable too, but they also might want to. It might be very important for them. It's said of the ESFPs, for example, that very many of them kind of gravitate to the finer things of life. They like really not just good looking, but like sumptuous and maybe heavy fabrics that feel really nice, and they look really nice. And I would also say that on the whole, more versus the NPs, their form of dress will be more trendy than trend setting. They're more likely to want to look good, but in a more mainstream kind of way. They're not as likely as the NPs to do something really super original like you've never seen. Um, so that's about all I can say about that. If anyone else has anything to add, I would love to hear it. It would be great. And let's see. Just at the end of this, I've just tacked on, just for fun, for the the real diehard. I don't know. People seem to like my armchair typing. So some people. So I'm going to tack on a couple of little clips that I put together from um, an armchair typing yakathon with an old friend. And what's happening in these clips is this friend forwarded me a wedding photo, a group portrait from a wedding with about 20 people in it, 20 women, girls. And he challenged me to, just for fun, to try and guess what the types of some of the people in the picture were. And I've never met these people. I know nothing about them whatsoever. And the particular challenge was for me, there was one confirmed ENFP in this group of people. And so he wanted to see how many tries it would take for me to pick the ENFP. Now, again, if you're going to try and pick people out of a crowd, like guessing the ENFPs can really be shooting fish in a barrel. So this is not that impressive. It would have been a lot more impressive if I'd caught the whoever it was, the ESTP in the crowd. But anyway, yeah, it took me 2 tries. I got the confirmed ENFP on the second try, and anyway, so I'm just yakking about that, and I'm particularly talking about what I talk about in there is particularly about general guidelines for maybe upping your chances of picking an ENFP woman in particular out of a crowd. If you happen to need any help with that, I don't know. So, and the other thing is that just a word of warning, the levels are strangely high. My volume is I'm even louder in these clips. So, I'm just going to give you a moment. I'm going to slow down so that those of you who would like to bail, there you go. Thanks for watching. And people who would like to continue and watch those little spontaneous clips, the little Easter egg hunt for an ENFP in a group photo, I give you a chance to turn your volume down a little because I don't want to hurt your ears, your precious ears. Anyway, if you've been watching, thanks again, and I look forward to your comments. Goodbye. About the people in the pictures. Lady in yellow, the extrovertinator. That's good. I would never have guessed. I could have. If I'd got her after 5 tries, it would have been totally by chance. So I was really lost on that. She looks really self-conscious to me. She looks really kind of like she's reining herself in. She's like taking care to stand correctly. And she's got a very sort of emotionally sensitive and self-conscious look on her face. I think she's an FI. I think she's an FI. I think she's a secret EP of some kind. Or, yeah. I'm not sure. ESFP or maybe even ENFP. That's a pretty snazzy dress she has, you know. Although you're right, it sure does fall in the J area. It's in that gray zone. Like, who knows? Who knows? And you know what does suggest J? I just want to give you props for having noted the things that you did about the confirmed ENFP. That example you gave of, oh, she's wearing sandals. A lot of the other women are wearing these pointy, sharp shoes, you said. And that's right. That's a very good principle for if you're at a formal occasion and you're trying to figure out who the P's are versus the J's. I don't think I mentioned this in one of my videos yet, but that's a really, really big one, is that the P's are going to insist. We are going to try every avenue we can to meet, at least minimum, we don't want to get thrown out. Like meet minimum standards for formality, and looking good. But we are going to insist pretty hard on being comfortable. Like we are not. It's really funny. I've had this come out and be explored in comments under my INJ spotting in the wild video with some J's who, it's so cute actually, like who have mistakenly thought that they've said something that let me know that they think that the reason why we P's look the way we do is because we just don't know how to do it like them. Which, in the case of the NFPs, is very often at least slightly true to moderately true. That yes, we don't. Especially when we're young, we don't realize just how out inappropriate or out of it we look to the more conservative dressers. We don't realize, we know we're being different, but we don't know just how wow different we're being. However, it's still the case that even very well dressed P people, when we're out, what you can look for is here's the thing. We will do just about anything to not put up with being horribly uncomfortable for more than 10 minutes at a time. So even on our wedding day, even for a very high profile occasion where everyone's going to be seeing us, even when we want to really impress a bunch of people and we want to look our best, we are totally going to factor in comfort into that. So we are not going to wear shoes that make our feet bleed or wear a really tight tie that is incredibly uncomfortable for the whole night. We're just not going to do it. And, it's really cute. A lot of the J's I think a lot of the J's, of course, you're always referring to your own standards, but think that we just don't know how to do it. And it's well, that depends. I think it's a mix usually. And we know how to do it a lot more than a lot of the J's think we do. It's just that we're fuck that. I'm not going to do that, because again, we've got our own internal sort of standards for things. Okay, and then what else? Yes, so back to that confirmed ENFP. So she's wearing again, what you want to keep in mind, think of Stevie Nicks, think of Cyndi Lauper, think of, whatever. Those are good rules of thumb. Anything that has a slightly hippie bohemian vibe to the style, and that is comfortable. It's pretty, but it's comfortable, and it's rarely fussy. It's rarely super sharp. That is more the ENFP way to go. So the fact that she's got this uneven hem and it's kind of flowy and it's little spaghetti straps and there's no requirement to be wearing any hardcore foundational. Well, she wouldn't anyway because she's really slender. But wearing some foundational garments and weird moleskin so that your feet aren't shredded by your super high heels and stilettos and whatever. We love stilettos too, but you know what? When I go out and wear stilettos, which is not that often, I don't have that many occasions, but when I want to dress up, usually it's to show off for somebody special, if you know what I mean. But if I do, I'm not going out in them, but if I do go out in them, I will always have a backup pair of shitty shoes in my bag because there's no fucking way I'm going to put up, again, the P thing. I don't care. I'm not going to wear those the whole damn night. There's no way. and I'm not sorry about it. So I'll put some flip-flops in the bag for later, or maybe it'll be barefoot. I don't know, but I'm not going to be wearing those. Anyway, sorry, back to the NFP. The other way I can tell, yeah, like the little flower in her hair, like very for sort of flower child. And whereas the J's, they especially the SJs, they're much more likely on a wedding, somebody's wedding day, to be wearing hair you could play handball off of. Like they'll use half a can of hairspray, and it's going to be just, there will not be a hair, like whatever hairstyle it is, there will not be a hair out of place. And it will not be possible for the hair to move out of place. A hair cannot move on the head generally. Whereas the P people are going to be like, woo, whatever. And so the NFP with her hair down, she probably has like a bit of mousse in it, if that. It's loose, it's down, it's not up, it's not tied up, it's not constricted. She's just got a little more of a natural look, I guess. And I mean, a natural look, I wouldn't say that's the hallmark of an ENFP. We're pretty wild dressers, a lot of us, which is why I looked at the turquoise lady, because I'm like, you know what? The one contraindication for turquoise lady in a way is that it's not so comfortable what she's wearing. That's pretty tight. That's not a comfortable outfit. So maybe not ENFP, but the fact that it's kind of retro, it's a bit different, it's a bit artistic, it's a bit cool. She has the daring to wear a fascinator like that. Like an ENFP would do all those things for sure. Now about the little girl. Yes, she's so cute. Yeah. I don't know, little in the shorts there. I think she's a little casual for the military, but that looks like a confident girl. That looks like an extroverted and confident kid there who, who might with just a little shaping into the core, might make an excellent member of the armed forces. And then, of all the people in that picture who is absolutely an extrovert, the most obvious extrovert is that little girl in front of the confirmed ENFP. She, like that's what I'm talking about. Like, look at that stance, like her feet apart. And she's like, hi, here I am, like just beaming face, wide open, very comfortable in the picture, very comfortable around all those people she doesn't know. Like just, hi world, like that's very extroverted. So yeah.